Imagine waking up one day and realizing your youngest is off to college, and you're left wondering, who am I now? This isn't a crisis, it's an opportunity. For years, sometimes decades, your life had a rhythm shaped by motherhood. The morning routines, the after-school chaos, the late-night talks, the grocery lists, the appointments, the homework, the emotional load that only you truly understood. You built a world around your children because that's what loving them looked like. It wasn't a sacrifice you questioned. It was simply your reality. But now, the house is quieter. The schedule is lighter. The energy of constant motion has softened into a kind of stillness you're not entirely used to. And in that quiet, an unexpected question starts to rise. Who am I outside of being their mom? Not instead of, but beyond. It's a question many women avoid saying out loud because it feels almost taboo. You love your children, you're proud of who they've become, and you wouldn't trade the years of raising them for anything. But there's a tenderness to this moment, a mix of relief, confusion, pride, and a little bit of grief. You're not mourning your children, you're mourning the version of yourself who always knew exactly what she was needed for. Motherhood created a purpose so strong, so clear, that when its intensity shifts, it can feel like a small identity quake. You can sense that something in you is rearranging, opening up, stretching into territory you haven't explored in years, maybe decades. And here's the truth that often gets lost under the pressure of being fine. This shift can feel uncomfortable, emotional, and strangely disorienting. Even when you're happy for your kids, even when you feel proud, even when you know this next season is healthy and natural, but it can also be one of the most powerful openings of your entire life. This video isn't here to tell you who to become or how you should feel. It's here to walk beside you as you gently untangle the identity you built around motherhood and reconnect with the parts of yourself that have been waiting patiently in the background. The creative parts, the curious parts, the ambitious parts, the quiet parts, the forgotten parts. Maybe you already feel little sparks of yourself resurfacing. Maybe you feel blank and unsure where to begin. Maybe you feel guilty for even wanting more. Wherever you are, you're not behind, you're not lost, you're not wrong. You're simply entering a new chapter, and this chapter is about you. So take a breath. Let your shoulders drop. Let this be your moment to lean back and feel supported. Tonight, we'll explore how you can rediscover your passions, navigate shifting roles, and embrace the woman you're becoming, one who is multifaceted, whole, and allowed to evolve. Let's begin. There's a strange adjustment that happens when your children no longer need you in the same way they once did. It's not dramatic, and it doesn't happen all at once. It arrives in small moments, like when you catch yourself walking past their empty bedroom, or when you set the table and automatically reach for an extra plate you don't need anymore. You feel the shift not as a loss of love, but as a loosening of a role that once anchored your entire life. Motherhood has a way of absorbing your identity so completely that it becomes second nature. You don't think about it. You simply are it. You answer to mom more often than your own name. You organize your day around everyone else's needs. Your thoughts are a constant rotation of, did they eat? Did they sleep? Are they okay? The role is so consuming that you might go years without asking yourself what you want outside of the responsibilities that define you. Then comes the moment, sometimes gradually, sometimes suddenly, when the intensity shifts. Your children grow. They become independent. They start making their own choices, building their own routines, creating their own worlds. You're still their mother, always will be, but the center of gravity moves, and with that, something inside you begins to stir. You may feel pride first, relief even, but underneath those emotions sits a quieter feeling many women don't talk about, the sense that a part of you has been left standing in an empty spotlight. The script you've perfected for so many years is no longer needed in the same way, and you're unsure what the next scene is supposed to look like. It's not that motherhood ends, it evolves, but the way the world sees you can feel narrower than the way you feel inside. Society often wraps women into the identity of mom so tightly that the layers beneath it get ignored, sometimes even by the women themselves. The word becomes both a badge of honor and a container, a beautiful one, but still a container. And when your role expands again, that container can suddenly feel too small. You might catch yourself missing the parts of you that existed before motherhood, the parts that were spontaneous, creative, confident, or curious. Or maybe you barely remember who that woman was because you haven't checked in with her in years. Not because you abandoned her, but because motherhood asked so much of you that she had to step to the side for a while. There can also be a quiet grief, not just for your kids growing up, but for the version of yourself who stayed in motion for so long that slowing down now feels unfamiliar. It's an emotional weight many women carry privately, unsure whether it's okay to feel this way when they've done everything right. But here's the truth. You're not losing yourself. You're returning to yourself. The identity shift after motherhood isn't a crisis. It's an invitation, a chance to rebuild, rediscover, and explore who you are separate from what you provide for others. It's a moment to acknowledge that the woman behind the title mom still has dreams, interests, desires, and dimensions that deserve space. You don't have to rush this transition. You don't have to know exactly who you are becoming. You simply have to give yourself permission to step out of the role long enough to hear the parts of you that are ready to speak again. This is the beginning of something new, something deeply personal, meaningful, and uniquely yours. When the busyness of hands-on motherhood begins to fade, something unexpected happens. The quiet gets louder. You suddenly have space to think again, to breathe again, to wonder again. And those moments can feel strange at first, almost like you're rediscovering a room inside yourself that's been locked for years. Some women talk about this phase like an echo. They keep hearing small hints of who they used to be before life became centered around diapers, homework, driving schedules, and endless emotional labor. Maybe you remember a younger version of yourself who used to paint or write or dance or dream about starting a business. Maybe she wanted adventure. Maybe she wanted simplicity. Maybe she wanted something she never got the chance to try. She isn't gone. She's been waiting. This chapter is where women often feel both excitement and hesitation. You might feel guilty for wanting something that doesn't revolve around family. You might second-guess yourself. Is this silly at my age? Is it selfish to want time for myself? Do I even have the right to explore something new when everyone is used to me being available? You do. You absolutely do. One of the most liberating parts of life after active motherhood is the fact that your passions don't need to fit into tiny leftover moments anymore. You have fewer constraints, fewer demands pulling you in every direction, fewer last-minute emergencies that require you to drop everything for someone else. There's a new kind of freedom, quiet, soft, but steady, that invites you to reach for things you once pushed aside. Sometimes reclaiming your passions starts with remembering what once made you feel alive. Maybe you pick up a book on a topic you loved years ago, or you walk into a class just to see what happens. Maybe you dig through an old box and find hints of a woman you almost forgot. Watching that version of yourself resurface can feel emotional, almost like reintroducing yourself to your own reflection. And if you aren't sure what you love anymore, that's okay too. A lot of women reach this stage and realize they've been so focused on giving that they don't even know what they want. That doesn't mean something is wrong. It means something new is beginning. Think of this as exploration, not pressure. No big commitments, no perfection, no expectations. Just little experiments, small invitations to yourself. You try something once and see how it feels. You follow your curiosity instead of your guilt. You let joy, not obligation, be the guide. And slowly, something opens. You may notice your confidence shifting. You may feel a spark in areas of your life that once felt stagnant. You may begin to sense that your purpose isn't disappearing, it's expanding. This chapter isn't about abandoning motherhood, it's about adding yourself back into the story. You are not defined solely by what you've given to others. You are allowed to choose something that belongs to you. As you begin rediscovering who you are beyond motherhood, the relationships in your life naturally start shifting. And that can feel both empowering and unsettling. It's not because anything is wrong, it's because when you evolve, the dynamics around you adjust too. For years, other people have been used to a certain version of you: the fixer, the dependable one, the emotional thermostat of the family. The woman who figures things out before anyone else even notices something is wrong. Without even meaning to, they formed a rhythm around your presence, a rhythm that now, little by little, begins to change. When you start setting aside time for your own interests, or saying no to things that used to drain you, or expressing needs you've kept quiet for decades, the people closest to you might pause. Some might feel confused. Some might feel uncertain. Some may not understand at all. But this is not a sign to stop. It's a sign that your life is recalibrating. You're not rejecting the people you love. You're simply including yourself for the first time in a long time. Communication becomes essential in this stage. Not dramatic, not confrontational, just honest. You can tell your partner that you're exploring parts of yourself you haven't touched in years. You can reassure your children, even your adult ones, that your growth doesn't diminish your love for them. You can express to friends that you're trying to carve out time that nourishes you, not just everyone else. Sometimes these conversations feel vulnerable, especially if you've spent years being seen as the steady, selfless one. But speaking your truth isn't selfish, it's an act of connection. People can't support a version of you they don't know exists. Boundaries naturally become part of this process too, not as walls, but as gentle reminders that your time and energy have value. You start protecting the parts of your life that help you grow. You stop automatically saying yes to responsibilities that drain you. You stop sacrificing your needs to keep peace that wasn't real anyway. And something beautiful happens. You begin attracting people who align with your evolving self. New friendships may feel refreshing, lighter, more honest. Old friendships may deepen because now you're showing up as your whole self, not the filtered version you once offered. There is also the possibility that some relationships won't adjust. Not everyone embraces change, even positive change. But that, too, becomes part of your growth. You realize that relationships built only on what you provided were never steady foundations to begin with. This chapter is about letting your identity breathe inside your relationships instead of being overshadowed by them. It's about learning to be seen again, not just as mom, not just as the dependable one, but as a complex, evolving woman with desires, depth, and a future entirely her own. You're not distancing yourself from others. You're coming home to yourself. There's a quiet moment that often arrives somewhere in the middle of this transition, a moment when you're sitting alone, maybe with a cup of tea or in the car after running errands, and you suddenly feel the weight of your inner world asking for attention. Not the world outside you, not the to-dos, not the kids' needs, not the expectations you used to hold yourself to, but the part of you that has been whispering for years, hoping you might slow down long enough to hear her. Self-reflection can feel unfamiliar at first, almost like speaking a language you once knew but haven't used in decades. You might feel unsure of what to write when you open a journal. You might feel awkward sitting in silence, noticing your breath, noticing your feelings. You might even feel emotional because the truth is, you haven't asked yourself how you feel in a very long time. Motherhood teaches you to move quickly, to anticipate, to respond, to support, to adjust. But rebuilding your identity asks for the opposite, a pause, a moment where you let the world wait so you can listen inward. And even though it sounds simple, it can feel revolutionary. Journaling becomes more than writing. It becomes a conversation with yourself, a safe place to spill out the thoughts you've tucked away. You might write about the things that exhausted you, the things that lit you up, the things you've been craving without telling anyone. You might write about who you were at 20 or 30 and who you hope to become at 50 or 60. And slowly, patterns emerge, desires resurface, clarity forms. Some women discover they've outgrown roles they didn't even mean to stay in. Others realize how badly they've needed space. Some finally put words to emotions they've carried quietly for years. Resentment, longing, curiosity, hope. And once these thoughts have a place to land, something inside softens. Self-reflection brings intentionality. You start noticing what drains your energy and what replenishes it. You start catching yourself in old habits, people-pleasing, overcommitting, shrinking, and you begin gently redirecting towards something more honest, more aligned. You start choosing with care instead of reacting out of habit. And then there is self-care, another concept that often feels overused, but in this stage of life, it becomes something entirely different. Not spa days or bubble baths as a form of escape, but deliberate acts of honoring yourself. Rest becomes something you protect. Nourishing your body becomes something you prioritize. Time alone becomes essential rather than indulgent. This chapter of your evolution asks you to become intentional about how you live, how you feel, and what you allow into your life. It's less about reinventing yourself overnight and more about reconnecting with the woman you've always been beneath the noise of responsibility. Reflection isn't a luxury, it's the foundation. The place where you rebuild your sense of self with clarity, compassion, and honesty. And the more intentional you become, the more your life begins to feel like something you're actively shaping, rather than something happening around you. Stepping into this new version of yourself doesn't mean replacing motherhood or pretending it didn't shape you. It means allowing your identity to expand, to stretch, to breathe, to hold more than it ever could before. You're not choosing between being a mother and being an individual. You're learning how to be both, fully, beautifully, unapologetically. There's a freedom that comes with this realization, a freedom from the old belief that you had to choose one role and perform it perfectly, a freedom from the idea that women must be defined by the people we care for rather than the person we are, a freedom from the quiet guilt that often comes with wanting more, needing more, craving more. As you move forward, you begin to see the beauty in your complexity. You're not just one thing. You never were. You're a patchwork of passions, memories, strengths, values, quirks, dreams, contradictions, and lived experiences. And every part of you has earned the right to exist. You start embracing imperfection, not as a failure, but as proof that you're growing. You stop holding yourself to impossible standards, the perfect mother, the perfect partner, the perfect friend, and instead allow yourself to be human. You start celebrating progress over perfection, curiosity over certainty, presence over performance. Your relationships begin to shift too. Some deepen as people see this renewed version of you, this woman who speaks her truth, protects her well-being, and invites others to know her more fully. Some relationships fade because they were built on versions of you that no longer exist. And even though that can hurt, it also makes space for new connections, friendships that grow from mutual understanding, partnerships that feel more balanced, communities that celebrate your evolution. Your future becomes something expansive. Instead of fearing the blank space, you start seeing possibilities. Maybe you take a class you've always wanted to try. Maybe you travel somewhere that has been calling your name for years. Maybe you return to an old passion or dive into a brand new one. Maybe you change careers, start a business, write a book, volunteer, join a community, or simply create a life that feels softer, steadier, more aligned. Your story is far from over. In many ways, it's just beginning. Not because you're starting completely from scratch, but because you finally have the wisdom, the perspective, and the courage to build a life that reflects the woman you've become. Motherhood will always be a cherished chapter, but it's not the whole book. You get to decide what comes next. You get to shape your multifaceted, ever-evolving future. One choice, one discovery, one honest moment at a time. This isn't the end of who you were. It's the unfolding of who you are becoming. As we reach the end of this conversation, take a slow breath and give yourself credit for even being here, for choosing to explore a part of yourself that so many women ignore, postpone, or silence. You're stepping into a chapter that asks more honesty, more courage, and more tenderness from you than almost any other stage of life. And you're doing it with an open heart. For so long, your identity was wrapped around one of the most meaningful roles a person can hold: mother, caregiver, protector, guide. It shaped your days, your routines, your decisions, your priorities, sometimes so completely that everything else faded into the background. Not because you lost yourself on purpose, but because that's what love often looks like. It expands until it fills every corner of a life. But as children grow, as life shifts, as the house becomes quieter and the rhythm changes, something inside you starts to rise again. A curiosity, a longing, a small spark of recognition. Oh, there you are. The part of you that once had dreams, ambitions, preferences, desires. She steps forward and asks, gently but clearly, "What about me?" This transition isn't about abandoning motherhood. It's about expanding beyond it. You don't stop being a mother once your children grow, but you do start rediscovering the woman who has always existed underneath the role. You start realizing that motherhood is one chapter of your story, not the entire book. And that is not a loss. It's a beginning. You're allowed to want more. You're allowed to explore parts of yourself that were quiet for years. You're allowed to become someone new, or return to someone you once were. You're allowed to step into passions, friendships, careers, and identities that light you up from the inside, and you don't need anyone's permission to evolve. As you continue forward, keep listening to that inner voice, the one that's learning to speak again after years of whispering. Let it guide you. Let it nudge you toward what feels alive, what feels true, what feels like you. Because the more you honor that voice, the more your life begins to align in ways that feel peaceful, grounded, and deeply fulfilling. You are not at the end of something. You are at the threshold of a new beginning, one built on wisdom, experience, love, resilience, and finally, freedom. Your identity is not disappearing. It is unfolding. And wherever you go from here, know that you are not walking alone. This community is growing with you, rediscovering itself with you, rooting for you as you reclaim every beautiful, powerful, overlooked part of who you are. Here's to your next chapter, the one where you get to be a mother and a whole vibrant woman with a life that reflects everything you've become. You're ready for this, and you deserve it. Before you go, I want to invite you to join this community of women rediscovering themselves after 40. If you found comfort, clarity, or even just a moment of peace in this video, please subscribe. It helps this channel grow, and it helps more women find the support they deserve. And if you have a second, leave a like and a comment. I would love to hear what resonated with you the most. Thank you for being here. Truly.